Welcome back to the Radio Academy podcast. This week's episode is a special edition and was recorded at our Foot in the Door event in Salford. You'll hear our hosts Becky Brown and Luke Jones from Shock Radio chatting to some of the speakers, and there's some great networking advice from radio professionals as well as their journey into the industry. Let's hand over to Becky and Luke and meet their first guests.
Hello, my name's Dan Noble. I'm a radio presenter. I present Early Breakfast on Absolute Radio and afternoons on Absolute Radio Naughties.
Hello, I'm Dom Stirling. I'm a producer at BBC Radio 1 based in Salford.
We'll start off with, what do you, as someone who actually works in the industry, take away from events like this?
Well, I think I've done a couple of these before. I think what's really useful is being able to meet people in person rather than just the person behind the email. It's much easier to find a professional in radio who's really busy, so therefore sends quite a brief email, whereas here you can kind of just pin them and get everything out of them. But I think, it's great being in person and being able to chat to people within the industry and people who are passionate about audio as well. That's really fun about it.
Yeah, I think I agree exactly the same. I think there's a lot of people you come to these events and think, oh, I do know this person. It's only because you've had to see them on socials or you've heard the name before, and it's good putting a face to that name and having a conversation, because I think when you work in radio, whether you're just starting out or you're 20 years in, you're always looking to meet people and have, not necessarily one eye on the next job or option, but you always want them options there, where you think, actually, I want to do this, so actually I know the right person because I met them at an event once, which I think can be a lot easier than searching for an email address and thinking, I'm just out of the blue emailing someone that has never met me before, and they will just to get the emails. And these are really important events.
When it comes to content, obviously I don't know how in control you are of exactly what goes out on the radio. I'm sure there's a lot we don't see behind the scenes. With it being every single day or at least every week, how do you keep coming up with content? Where do you find them ideas? Especially when it's like for a game. Mm-hmm. Like, how are you doing something that you've not done before? For
me with content, I think, and there's so many different places you can go. Like it's the world. Mm. For me, I'm always a fan of it just being the world, relatable stuff. It's that whole thing of the notes section on your phone is the best place you can be. You're on a bus and you something comes across, you're like, I want to talk about that, I want to mention that on the radio, you're at a gig or whatever. That's a big thing of just like, but what I would say as well with content is don't blow through the content quickly. If you've got 3 really good ideas or 3 talk points, don't smash them out in half an hour. Make one last for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then do the other 2 later in the week. Because what will end up happening is if you go, hey, today I want to talk about what's the favourite biscuit? Because that's, of course, what we do.
And then
the next thing you're going, my favourite flavour of crisp is ready salted, and someone's texting in being like, well, I love digestive. You've lost the listener because they're like, oh, I thought we were doing biscuits. And you wouldn't be in the pub with your mate and be like, oh, did you see the football last night? Yeah, okay, on Love Island the other way, that was great. And have you gone to Glasgow this weekend? Your mate would be like, well, which do you want me to talk about here? Like, can we have a conversation first? So treat every sort of show like a conversation and let it breathe is a big thing for me as well. Yeah, you get a lot of content from your life. I think in my talk that we just did, I can't remember who, but someone said to live a life. You know, you're not just, so from a presenter point of view, you're not just Dan the radio presenter. You're Dan who has mates and goes to the football and does this. You know, and that is where you can get content. You can get a lot from online and from watching TV and stuff, but from observing and making notes of things. Make note of things that are funny. If you're chatting with a mate and you say something and they laugh, just make a mental note of, all right, that was funny. Yep. That'll work. Yep. Just stuff like that really, and just kind of be very aware of things happening in your life's always a good thing to do. And just kind of like the broader world. Something that happened last week, a brilliant bit of content from Tayal from Kiss, with the Euros going on. There was this like viral video of fans snapping spaghetti in front of the Italians. So he got a Danish pastry ahead of the Denmark game and like broke it on air. And we've got a radio station in Denmark at Bauer, so then they kind of like reacted. But something like that is like just a funny short thing. He filmed it, it goes on TikTok as well. Not all content needs to be thought of and planned loads in advance. Sometimes you could be doing a show and go, hang on, I've got an idea here, and you can figure out a way of kind of doing that. And sometimes that can be the better ones as well.
I'm Mary Mandefield. I'm a broadcaster and a journalist. I have a show on Hits Radio, Sunday Breakfast. I also host a podcast called Noted with the News Movement and Persphonica, and I do lots of other work in radio and broadcast around that as well.
I'm Callum Marks, so I'm the production director for Listening Dog Media, so I founded the company as well. So we've been going around 5 years now. We do a variety of different podcasts, predominantly in sports. So we currently do a weekly football podcast with David Seaman, do a women's football podcast and a couple of fan football podcasts as well as other sports. We do music podcasts, drama podcasts, so a wider range of stuff really.
How have you found the talk so far today? Obviously, Mary, you've spoken already, so how have you found it?
I'm a big Foot in the Door fan. It's always really, really valuable being at these kinds of events, and anything Radio Academy related is where I've made some of the best connections in audio that have led on to things like me even doing Hits Radio. So yeah, today has already been really, really important because you see some familiar faces and then you meet some new faces as well. And I think even audio industry professionals, if you've been working in the space for a while, you still need to learn, you still need to connect. It never really stands still. So yeah, making connections today has already been really important.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time I've done one of these. In fact, it's the first time I've ever been in a university, to be honest. So yeah, a whole new day for me. But yeah, no, just to echo that, I think the good thing about these events is the networking and just having you sort of know the names of people, even when you're in the industry, but you don't necessarily. I've never had a conversation with them, so I mean we've just done a panel together. Yeah. First, this is the most we've spoken. We've just been sat next to each other for 45 minutes, but yeah, it's all stuff like that. And I think to sort of build on what Mary just said, any job that kind of I've had has always been through a connection that I've had, really. So my whole journey, I can track it through people, really. So yeah, it's extremely valuable doing stuff like this.
One question, both your top tips for networking.
Ooh, how many tips do you want?
Your top tip.
Oh, the one top tip. I was like,
the one top tip.
My number one top tip for networking at an event like this is to understand you're making a connection and it's not a straight transaction of someone turning around to you and offering you a job or offering you a spot at something. It's about making an honest, genuine and authentic connection with someone else who shares same interests as you or works in the same industry, and understanding that this connection could last you for your whole career. So make a good first impression, be polite and try and just be genuine, and don't always think of it as take. Be ready to give ideas and give insight, and you'll be surprised how many industry professionals want to hear from young people. They want to hear from people that aren't just in audio. They want to hear people who've got hobbies and interests, because that is so useful to what we do. So yeah, be yourself.
I 100% agree with that. I think just being a nice person is number one. I think the thing that I would probably say, and this probably comes from personal experience a little bit as well, is but if you do come to these sort of events and you don't really feel confident enough to actually go up to someone and say it, just jot down the name, find them on LinkedIn, find them on social media, send them a quick note, and then you can sort of introduce yourself that way. Yeah. A lot of the time, look, I do get a lot of these emails and stuff, and I'll always make time for people, even if it's just like a quick Zoom call or whatever, because I know how important that sort of thing is. But yeah, just do that and just make as many as you can.
And I would say on that note, do it as soon as you can. Definitely try and do it that day or the day after, because I've been guilty of noting down the name and then 3 weeks later, it's always it feels like it's too late. So yeah, try and kind of seize the energy and do it as soon as you can.
So I am Laura Busson. I am the commissioning exec for BBC Radio 2. So I help Helen Thomas to run the station every day. I'm in charge of network priorities from week to week. So trying to get everybody on board for the big projects that we've got happening from week to week. So obviously this weekend we're heading into Glastonbury weekend, so we've got loads of content around that. And then next week it's Radio 2 Loves Jazz that'll be on. So I keep everybody abreast of what's happening. And then the other side of what I do is driving forward those big projects that you might hear about. So like what are we doing at Eurovision, or what are we doing with children in need this year? And I'm trying to think of an idea, so if anybody's got ideas, please send them to me.
I'm going to jump straight on the back of that. When it comes to these ideas and obviously all these people in the room that have these ideas, how do you know a good idea when you hear it?
Sometimes it's that gut feel. You just know. They're big, bold, exciting, fresh ideas that you might not have heard anywhere before. Ideas that it might be a story that somebody's got to tell, but they're telling it in a sort of different way. Or is it doing something that you've never heard before on the radio and you think, yes, our audience is going to absolutely love that. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
And how would you get those ideas known to other people? Like, how would you put them out there?
Well, just send us an email with a sort of little proposal on it, I guess. In terms of, student radio and people at that kind of level, it might be worth, if you've got an idea, you could talk to an independent production company who are set up and have a relationship with Radio 2 already. And then they can help you develop that idea in the right way and put it in a format that they know that we like, and they've got the contacts already, so you can be strategic about how you get your idea in front of people. But yeah, sending an email is equally as good.
Yeah. I think that's a really good answer that people will look for. When it comes to networking, which I'm sure we'll be a part of later on, what are your top tips for what you should and maybe shouldn't do in that scenario?
Listen, I think that especially in this sort of ball game, you've got to take chances, and you've got to do scary things that might not feel comfortable, but if you don't take that chance to go and talk to people or ask the question that you want to ask, even if you think it's a stupid question, it probably isn't, and I genuinely want to help everybody. I was at that stage at one point in my career. I was a geeky 17-year-old girl who would have just done anything to have a proper job in radio. And so if I can help somebody else, in a way, sort of helping, offering that hand that I would have loved when I was 17, that is a pleasure, and I'll do everything I can to help.
What are things that you want to see from someone trying to get into the industry?
So I would want to see somebody who is enthusiastic, who shows a passion for, the brand or the job that they're going for, shows you that they're really into that. I would look for, I guess it's the right attitude, because the sort of the skills bit can be taught, but the attitude and the sort of passion for it and being able to dissect a bit of radio or tell you why they like it or tell you why they didn't like it, that is something that you can't really conjure in the same way. You get this visceral feeling, don't you, about whether you like it or whether you didn't. So I would just say, be enthusiastic, try and talk about obviously sell yourself. They always talk about elevator pitches, don't they? You haven't got a long time to sort of get across who you are. Tell them about yourself, sell yourself, and take a chance and be yourself, because you can bring something to the party that nobody else can. So be confident in yourself and just take that chance.
I'm Helen Thomas. I'm the head of BBC Radio 2, and I am the chair of the Radio Academy.
And I'm Aradhna Tayal Leach, and I'm Managing Director of the Radio Academy.
Basically, sum up today, how have you found it for yourselves?
This is one of my favourite days. So we run Foot in the Door about 3 times a year, and we travel around to different university cities. And it's really nice to be here in Salford. Not only is it the most beautiful sunny day that we've had all year, but it's just been such a buzzy atmosphere in the room. I think the thing that I love most about this is just being able to get people together who love audio, who live and breathe it. They want to work in it. They already do. They're looking for their next step, and they're taking time out of their busy lives to come together, to meet each other, to invest in their own development, learn new skills, be open-minded about where their career might take them and what other sort of roles or opportunities are out there, and just chat to people and get to know people and have that space to really build relationships. That's my absolute highlight.
Yeah, and I mean, I would absolutely agree with that. So for me, it is wonderful to be in a room with so much energy and so much excitement, you know, people who are at the very start of their careers, you know, who are really open-minded and have lots of questions about how to make the next move, or where to go, or who to talk to. And I think having those people all together alongside a brilliant panel, several brilliant panels and speeches, talks, presentations pulled together by the fantastic Chris North, has been a real joy to be around, actually, because young people are the lifeblood of our industry. You know, people like me are looking to young people to carry us through the next wave, you know. So, it's been really good, really, really good.
And what would you suggest the first steps would be for someone coming into radio?
I would say the most important thing, if you want to work in radio, is to listen to radio, to listen widely, to listen to audio, to listen to podcasts. Be curious, be interested in everything, because if you're interested, you are going to be interesting as a person. Have a broad hinterland, kind of have lots of different things in your life to draw on, because if you come to the BBC, for example, or to Bauer, or to Global, or any organisation, we can teach you how to edit, you know, but creativity, creative ideas, that's what we're looking for. That's what radio and audio needs a constant supply of, and people who can generate those.
And finally, one thing that people here today should take away with them?
I would say the one thing people should take away is that AI isn't coming, it's already here. Dan from Broadcast Bionics gave the best presentation I have seen on AI, and I've seen a lot of presentations on AI over the last few years. And it's actually really about learning how you work with it. Don't be scared of it, how you work with it. And there was a fantastic quote that he pulled up, which I'm going to really misquote right now. But it was around, I don't want AI to write poetry and do music whilst I end up doing laundry and, you know, chores around the house. It's like, let's get AI to do the chores around the house and the laundry so that I can free up my headspace to be creative. I told you I'd mangle that quote.
There's a meme on it, you can look it up. I think for me, one of the real buzz phrases of the day has been portfolio career, and that's something that I've been doing for at least the last 10 years. And I think it's really important to be able to share expertise and knowledge and tips on how to do that. That it isn't a world anymore where you have to go and get one job and you're going to be there for life. Maybe you will, and if that's for you, then that's brilliant, but it's not for everyone, and it's not always possible when jobs are few and far between. So having that flexibility and freedom, but also the confidence, because we've talked to many other people who are already doing it, to then be able to pursue that and to pursue it meaningfully and in a way that pays the bills. I think that's been a real takeaway of the day.
A big thank you to our hosts Becky Brown and Luke Jones from Shock Radio for this week's podcast from the Foot in the Door event in Salford. The episode was edited and executive produced by Matt Hallsworth. Keep an eye out on our website for summer socials. We've got events in Bristol, Exeter and London already announced, and there's more to come. Go to radioacademy.org/events to find out more. That's also the page you need for the Radio Academy Festival tickets, which is in London on the 18th of September. I'll see you next week.